Morning students of standard 10th, welcome to your third video for the week. It is a tiger in the zoo by Leslie Norris. We'll be discussing all the 5 stanzas and the purpose associated with the poem. Now the first stanza. He stalks in his vivid strides, the few steps of his cage, on pads of velvet quiet in his quiet rage. See the use of quiet, it has been used differently. The repetition of quiet is quite different. Now he here stands for tiger. Quiet rage is unexpressed anger. Few steps stands for the small steps he takes, because the cage is not big, limited. So he can only take a few steps in his cage. Basically here few steps is not a measure of the steps taken by the animal, it is a measure of the size of the cage. Vivid stripes, bright and attractive lines that are on tiger skins. You see the black stripes on the body of a tiger. Now the explanation of it. The tiger moves up and down of his cage. The stripes of his body of strong bright color. The stripes on his body are a strong bright color. The tiger moves quietly on his velvety pads. He is full of rage but is quiet. Because why is the tiger quiet? Because he knows that he is helpless. Now he is personification. Tiger is an animal and the pronoun used is for a man. So he is being personified over here. Vivid, stripes, right? I sound is very strong. It is assonance, then stalk and stripe. The S sound and the T sound is most prominent. It becomes consonants. Followed by the first 2 lines are enjambment. On pads of velvet. Pads of velvet is a metaphor used to describe how soft and tender the pads of a tiger's paws are. And in his quiet rage. Quiet and rage is oxymoron. Quiet means you are quiet, you are peaceful, and rage means you are angry. So quiet and rage becomes oxymoron. So these are the devices. Move on to the next stanza. He should be lurking in the shadows, sliding through long grass. He again stands for tiger. Lurk means wait in ambush. Shadows means shade of the tree or in the darkness. Slide means walk smoothly and secretly. Right? Now, near the water hole where the plump deer pass. Near the water hole, it stands for a water body, anything can be pond, lake or a river. And he searches for a plump, which means fat, deer for food, because animals would come to quench their thirst and they will attack, the tiger would attack it. Looking at the imprisoned tiger, the poet is filled with pity. He says that the poor tiger should have been in his natural habitat. Then at this point of the night he would have been lying in the shadows of trees and sliding quietly through the long grass. There, near the water hole, he would be waiting for some fat deer to pass that way. Thus, he would be lying there in expectation of a heavy feast. Basically, what is the idea behind this? The poet here trying to tell you what is the natural behavior of a tiger, what he should do naturally. He should be ambushing for a prey in amidst the long grasses near the water body where the animals would come to quench their thirst, and that's the natural behavior of a tiger. And what is he being forced to? He is being forced to spend his life being caged just for public view, just to amuse the public. He should be snarling around house at the jungle's edge, baring his white fangs, his claws, terrorizing the village. I forgot to mention the rhyme scheme. If you see, it is A, B, C, B. Now, second is A, B, C, B. Both the stanzas were A, B, C, B. Now, the second stanza that I forgot to mention was that imagery has been used. You can imagine the actions of the tiger hiding amidst the grass, in the shadows, in the darkness, looking for its prey. It is complete imagery. And the last three lines are enjambment. Plump deer pass. Plump and pass is alliteration. Now moving on to the third stanza, he snarls. Snarls means it's not exactly roaring. Roaring is loud. Snarling is a low sound, a warning sound made by the animal, particularly tiger. The house here stands for the houses that are built on the jungle's edge. And fang stands for teeth, claws stands for the nails. Terrorize is to scare. The village here represents the entire people or the entire population of the village. So here the device you see, village stand, is an example of synecdoche. Snarling is an example of onomatopoeia. The first two lines are again enjambment, if you can notice it. Bearing, he's, white, these are assonance. And he should be, it is personification. So what should the tiger do other than hunting? When he is not hunting, what should the tiger do? So here the poet imagines that the tiger would be doing in case he failed to find any prey in his natural habitat. He says the tiger would be growling at the edge of the jungle near some village. He would be showing his white fangs and claws while moving here and there. He would thus become a cause of terror for the villagers. Thus, the poet here gives a hint that if we destroy the natural habitat of tigers, they will be forced to turn to our towns and villages to find their food. That is also a hint. But the second hint is just to threaten him to keep away from the village, from the forest, of the jungle. That's the idea. When the tiger is not hunting, he would be threatening the mankind of staying away from the forest. Right? Now let's go to the fourth stanza. But he is locked in a concrete cell, his strength behind bars, stalking the length of his cage, ignoring visitors. Now this has the rhyme scheme different from the rest of the poem. It is A, B, C, D. Here, tiger is closed inside the concrete cell. He has shown his strength. He cannot show his strength here, so he walks the length of the cage. He ignores the visitors who come to see him in the cage, roaming around in the cage. As you see in the image, a tiger is inside a cage and a lady is watching it. Now, he here stands for personification. Concrete cell is an example of assonance. His strength behind bars. Behind bars is alliteration. And strength and bars is consonance. Right? Now the explanation of it. The poet sees the tiger locked in a concrete cell. It's actually locked in a concrete cell in a zoo. In spite of all his strength, he now lies imprisoned behind the bars. Very slowly and silently, he moves up and down along the length of the cage. He takes no note of the visitors who come to the zoo and have a look at him. Now the final stanza. He hears the last voice at night, the patrolling cars, and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. You see the use of brilliant over here. Again, it has been repeated. Here it is for similar effect. The brilliance of the stars has been compared to the brilliance or the brightness in the eyes of a tiger. He listens the last voice, people going back to their house, that is, at the night. He also listens to the sound of patrolling cars. By his brilliant eyes, hopeful eyes for freedom, he looks at the brilliant stars, bright future of freedom. Stars are free in the sky. Now let's go for its explanation. The tiger knows no rest during the day because of visitors. Even at night remains disturbed due to the noise of patrolling cars. He keeps staring at the brilliant stars with his brilliant eyes. Perhaps he is asking heaven why he has been imprisoned. Right? So this is the entire poetry. So this will be all for this week. I will come up again with few videos for the next week. Till then, you take care and stay safe.